is going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and we are here today to look at the funniness, greatness that is the Cyframe deck. Now, I'm actually gonna go into a match and explain some stuff. I did one recording where I explained some of this stuff, but it was like very long-winded, and I want to see if I can shorten this a little bit for you guys and explain. But let me get to the gist of it. Is the first thing I'm going to just explain while I'm here in this screen is just to go through a basic that these cards all react, the Cyframe gears all react to something happening on the field. Each different one has something different that it reacts to. Alpha reacts to normal summons, Beta reacts to an attack, Delta is a spell card, Epilison is a trap card, and Gamma is a monster effect. You see Gamma in a lot of decks actually. That's kind of the gist of it. Like, they respond to that, they usually destroy a card or activate an additional effect based off that. So I just want to kind of show that in a match real quick, and like I'm gonna go into solo mode so I can show you guys everything and explain why this deck is so good. Thank you, Emperor of Another Dimension, for helping me out here. This hand is going to be really good to show you guys a lot of stuff. I want to showcase a lot of the different little combos that you have with this deck. So we have Alpha in the hand, so pretty much on their turn we'll be able to, you know, pretty much trigger this, because this one is for the normal summon or special summons. This one allows us to summon the stuff on the field, and it also lets us get a Cyframe card, which is amazing. And I want to also use the extra deck monsters as a really cool way to do that. But to explain how the deck works, but let me first explain this, the last part of the cards effect that I did not explain before, which is pretty much these cards special summons this, and then another card which you'll see in a second when they actually special summon something. And when those cards, if those cards stay out on the field, they will get banished if they don't get special summoned into anything or anything of that sort. So you kind of do want to use them as much as you can, but a lot of times you don't. That's why you see me have the psychic path. If they do get removed from play, then we can get them back. So first thing I'm going to show you guys is this card, the Reflector. It's actually one of the other additional cards in here, and the reason why we're running this card is literally just so we can get our Link monster on the field. It also can synchro summon, obviously, if you want it to, but you know, that's what it is. So Reflector into Assault Beast into use this effect to discard it, and then stop it. They get the assault mode activate. Then Reflector's secondary effect allows us to reveal a assault mode activate in the hand, get the Assault Beast. Now I'm gonna just showcase one thing, because it's so much easier to show it than to explain it. So this thing's secondary effect is that you pretty much can summon a card that's in the graveyard that has assault mode, and you can increase its level by 1 through 4. So I'm just gonna do one just as an example so you guys understand it a little bit better. So now this card is normally at level 4, it goes up to 5. So now the lowest amount of synchro you can make from this combo is 6. Obviously the highest would be 9. That's kind of how that works, but we're not really here to synchro it. You could do that. I've been trying out some different combos and techniques for that. You can see here I have some 7s, 8s, things like that. I was trying to do 5s. Why? Because you can also go into, as you saw, Christian Halifax out of that as well. And then I was trying to see what other things. A lot of this stuff is still me testing the deck out. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably just going to want to go into the Link monster. Link monster is usually what you want to have out first. It's going to be Cyframe Lord Lambda. Now the reason why is because these cards, the frame gears by themselves, you have to actually have no monsters on your field to utilize them. That's usually how it works. So that's why a lot of the times you end up with these little weird interactions that aren't necessarily that well. You have to block something, stop them from doing something, and then your cards get removed from play, and then you have to kind of keep that up. You can use the psychic paths to keep that up. But with this card, the Frame Lord Lambda is that you can actually use it even if you have a card out on the field. What's best also is that if a card does, if a Frame Lord, as a face up psychic monster on you control is banished face up, I can activate this effect. During the end phase of this turn, add one Cyframe card from the deck to the hand. Now I'm going to do that on purpose because I can. I'm just going to summon a... As you can see, boom. So I just summoned a random card out there. The effect of emergency teleport that the card gets banished when it leaves the field. Since it just left the field, I can activate this card's effect, and it's going to let me get any Cyframe card in my deck. Now this is the other one, the Cyframe driver. It's pretty much the card that comes out with each of these frame gears. So you usually want to leave those in the deck or in the graveyard. And what you normally want to get as quick as possible is the Cyframe circuit. Now this one is really cool. Unfortunately, we won't be able to use it because I just had to put it into my hand now. But we'll be able to use it next turn. So use Gathering of the Mind, add 1 Gathering of the Mind to the hand. Oh, that's like a silly little cycle deck. I don't even know what deck this guy's playing. Dark Hole, that's very unfortunate. Psych. Cyframe Multi-Threader is one of the really cool cards in the deck. I don't think you need to run 3 of them. There are 3 right now. But what's really cool about this card is that whenever any of your... The first effect is cool, but if a face-up Cyframe card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can discard this card. Now, if you pay attention to it, it has a secondary effect. If a tuner is Cyframe tuner is special summoned while this card is in the graveyard, you could special summon it, and if it banish it if it leaves the field. You can use this effect, as it says this effect. So this first part, if I had 20 Cyframe multi-threaders in my hand, guess what? You're not destroying any of my monsters by battle or by card effect anyway. So this is actually going to stop the Dark Hole. That's why you kind of run this. And if you really pay attention to it, let me just make this full circle here. If you really pay attention to it, that now that this is in the graveyard, these cards can activate and pull cards from the graveyard as well. So you don't actually need to always have it in your hand or anything like that. You can also have it in the graveyard. So we're gonna activate his normal summon. Oh, I think he special summoned it, whatever. And we're gonna activate Alpha. And you're gonna see like kind of how this deck works. Boom. And I always pull from the deck. The reason why I always pull from the deck is to thin out the deck. I don't want to draw these cards. There's other cards in my deck that I would rather draw. So I always pull from the deck unless I have to pull from somewhere else, right? So boom. Gonna do that. And then Alpha allows me to get an additional card. I already have a field card in my hand, so we'll go with something else like the Cyframe Overlord as a card as well, which is a really good trap card. I'll explain it in a second. Now, as we saw before, the secondary effect, if a Cyframe Tuner is special summoned, I can special summon the Threader, but it will die. It will banish itself if it removes itself. So boom. Now we got a couple blockers here. He's gonna attack directly because that's just what that Spell Striker does. And now those cards remove themselves from play because that is the additional effect of the Cyframe gears anyway. So it's gonna let me get another lovely thing, and let's go with something that could block monster effects. That seems pretty good. Now let's keep something else lovely in mind. Oh, I got a Gamma again. That's kind of funny. So let's keep something else in mind is that these cards, all these frame gears, cannot be normal summoned. This one can be normal summoned, like obviously if I have 6, and also the regular Cyframe driver can be normal summoned, but all the other ones like the alpha, the betas, those ones cannot. We're gonna activate the frame circuit because the frame circuit reads when a Cyframe monster is special summoned to my side of the field, I can synchro with the monsters I have on my field. So obviously this and the Cyframe, this would make a quick 8, and then you'll see that we obviously have 8s. You want to run some decent 8s, whatever 8s that you want to run, you can run that. Obviously the Cyframe Omega, it meshes with the deck probably. 7 is really good for you, and 6, you know, whatever you want to make with the most of them. But just so it heads up, these are either 2 or 1, so you're always going to be making an 8 or a 7 with this effect. What's also really cool is that if I attack at the start of the damage step, if a Cyframe monster is battling, so whether I'm attacking or not, I can discard a Cyframe card from my hand and it gains that attack while it's attacking. So it's really, really cool. The same reason why, as you can see now, why I put Psychic Path in there is because sometimes you don't have these combos, and let's say you use a bunch of nonsense and you need to get your Psychic type monsters back into your hand. You can easily do this, Psychic Path, and now I can add these cards back into my hand, which is where you want the cards anyway, right? So I'm gonna get Reflector, and then I actually don't need to get that. I'm gonna get the Alpha back into my hand. Now I can almost guarantee you most people don't run Psychic Path. I just think it's a really good tech card. Now we can do the same thing with the Psychic Reflector here, and then we can use this effect. Now that the Assault mode is still on our hand, we can still utilize that aspect of it. Keeping Assault mode in your hand is really pivotal because you're usually running 3 Reflectors. So now I'm going to do 3. Why? Because 3 will boost us up to 7, and 7 and 1, boom, I can now make the 8. So let's talk about the Omega. Let's talk about Omega, right? So Omega is a really cool card. I'm gonna explain every fanciness that comes along with this card. I really like this card. So once per turn during the main phase, you can banish both this card, face-up card, and a random card in my opponent's hand. Fantastic. They get the card back on my standby phase, but it still blocks them out from using that card for pretty much their entire turn. It's a really cool thing if they have limited cards in their hand. It also, what I really liked about it, if they activate a card in the hand, you can sometimes snipe it. It is random, but sometimes you could snipe it. Also, if you really pay attention to how the frames, these things work, if this card is the only card on the field and you banish it to use this effect, then all your Cyframe gears in your hand are now able to activate, because if you have no more monsters on the field. So it's really cool to do that. Like it's really cool to do that. The number 7 in the deck is actually the Frame Lord Zeta. He does the same thing, but he has to pretty much target a special summon monster in attack position that the opponent has. Same thing. You just banish both those cards. They come back on a standby phase. They also both, the Omega and the Zeta both have a effect when they're in the graveyard. This one is a little bit better in the graveyard. You can target one of the other Cyframe card in your graveyard, return this card to the extra deck, and then return the other card to the hand. Pretty good. Now the Omega, which I don't really like to use his, but when he's in the graveyard, you can target one other card, shuffle it into the deck. There's obviously different, if you're paying attention, different applications for that. But let's just go in here, swing, and then we can also put down this just because I feel like it. Now this one, I love this card. Cyframe Overload allows us to banish a Cyframe monster from our hand or face up on the field. Now this time it does not come back, but guess what? We could target another card in the field and that gets banished face down, so their card will not come back. So it just has to be target one of the cards. So I could take out their trap before attacking, I could take out one of their monsters before attacking, or when it's about to use an effect or something like that, if they need that card to be on the field. A lot of implications on that. So let's just start to have some fun. So I'm going to attack here. I can obviously use the circuit to boost up its attack, don't need to do that. And then I'm going to attack with you. This card can only be activated during the main phase. The other Zeta card, you can use it whenever you want. So just for sakes, I'm going to do it here. Why? Because Frame Lord Lambda Damba Ding Dong is here. And remember, as long as this card sees a psychic type go from face up on the field and it gets removed from play, its effect activates. It does not need to actually be on the field anymore. I can kill this card off and I will still get to add a Cyframe card at the end of my turn from my deck to my hand. What I do like about Omega as well is that, as you can see, I can see what card I sniped. So it's like a little hand reading that you get to do as well, which is pretty good. See, Cyframe Lambda is going to activate. So since I have this one out, let's look at the hand. I have with a normal summon I can get something. So let's go with Delta to take out if they use a spell on me. I think if they might use a spell, that I think that, you know, I want to be able to stop that. Computer, don't use a spell. If you use a spell, I'm coming for your butt. Oh, use a trap. Now, but you see how cool that is though? Because if I thought that there was a trap, let's say it's an Eldritch deck, let's say it's the Banquet of Millions or something like that, you can then opt to get that card in your hand. Now we're gonna do this. This is a trap thing, whatever. I don't need 2 Gammas in my hand, do I? No, I really don't. So I could just banish this out and banish that. I don't like it. Now it's banished. Face down. You don't get to use it. End phase. Boom. Done. Like this deck is super about controlling, as you guys remember. Now guess what? Boom, our cards come back. Fantastic. I see you're running Terraforming, you're running Metaverse, I think it is Metaverse. Don't want to end the duel just yet. I'm gonna go into the main phase and I'm gonna use this thing's effect so I can get another card. Snipe another card. Oh, we got Gathering of the Mind again, which is very weird. Very weird to get that again. So this is kind of like the most optimal. I'm gonna still play a regular match and show you guys how it sometimes doesn't be as optimal. You know, see, this is the one for the traps, you know, in case I think he's gonna play a trap. So we have almost every negation possible in the hand, and we can use it because we have the Lambda on the field. And he ended his phase. I do want to showcase the circuit, so I'm gonna extend the match a little bit longer than it probably should be. Oh, and I actually forgot. So the other secondary effect of Frame Overload is that when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and then add a Cyframe card. Most of the time, when the earliest you can is to get the field card. The field card is the best part. Just because that first effect, I do want to showcase it as soon as I can. Now Omega's other effect, which I really do like, is that during my opponent's standby phase, I can target one banished card and return it to the graveyard. Now, I'm going to activate that. Why is that great? Is because, especially because of the multi-threaders, that's a really good one to put back into your graveyard, because if you special summon a Cyframe tuner, it can special summon itself. That's one thing. If your frame drivers were removed from play because they were used earlier, and then you finally got Omega out, you can start to put them back into the grave so you can utilize them. Like I said before, all of these cards, they take a Cyframe driver from the hand, deck, or graveyard. Like, you start from doing the deck, thin out your deck as much as possible, then you can keep using them from the graveyard all day. And then also, let's say if you notice that they have beneficial stuff from the removed from play, then you can start putting their removed from play stuff back in the graveyard. You just have to know what deck you're playing. So we're just gonna obviously go with the multi-threader, put it back. There we go, finally. So you finally activate the trap, we're gonna negate it, and you're gonna see the effect of the field card. It's like, jeez. So boom, that, and the other thing, as you can see, always take from the deck, like I said. Thin out your deck. Now, the effect of the circuit is going to activate. The Cyframe thing in the graveyard will activate as well, but I'm not going to activate it now. But now you'll be able to see, option, I don't need to do that. Nope, don't need to do that either. Now I can use the cards on my field to make it. That's why we're running Draco Berserker. It's just a UR, a level 8 UR. You can use like Stardust Dragon. You can obviously make the Flame Lord Omega, but he's restricted to 1. Geotech Math, because he's not only a decent card, but he also is a tuner. I thought that would be pretty cool. Bringing in a tuner, might be able to do some funky combos with that. I was just thinking of as many little weird stuff that I could add into my special extra deck. So here, this guy, we're running as well because he has a pretty cool effect. Draco Berserker. When your opponent activates a monster effect, I can just banish it. And this is the deck at the moment, just so you guys can like actually visually see it. So the other additional cards that I didn't see is, I mean, Ash, you got Max C in there. I think Max C, I would run more in this specific deck, because if you happen to be going second, I do think that there's implications. I don't like writing a bunch of Max C's in every deck. I only have 1 copy anyway, but I don't think that you should run 3 in every single deck, or 3 Ash. But if you were to get Max C and they start playing a bunch of cards, you actually can eventually draw into your Alpha, Beta, or something like that, and that actually could be more beneficial to you. Also, depending on the meta that you're playing in the game, I think that you're gonna see me use this deck in the festival, and the reason why is because I can adjust this to whatever I think I see. So if I see people not running as many spells, I can lower the amount of deltas in my deck, and then maybe if it's more trap based, I can run more of this in my deck, which is the trap or epsilon, and then I hope you guys understand what I'm saying, just to kind of adjust the ratios of what I'm running. I actually don't think you need to run 3 of the frame drivers either, but I have come into situations where I've had to use 2 of my frame gears, and then all of a sudden I would be screwed out of being able to do anything. So I think that's why most of the time you see people run 3, but I think with more understanding of the deck, I think you could probably go down to 2 and then start running some other flex cards or more one-offs, or run other staples like Called by the Graves and stuff like that to kind of fit them in. The Cyframe, like I said, you don't run multiple copies of Assault Mode Activate, but you can run multiple reflectors, because even if you do draw it, like if you do draw Assault Mode Activate, you don't want to, that's why you're only running 1. If you do draw it, you eventually will draw, you have 3 of these, so you can draw into it, and then you can still kind of do the combo, which is not that bad, as long as you can get the Assault Mode Beast in the graveyard. That's kind of the only thing. If you draw the Assault Mode Beast and you draw Assault Mode Activate, you are kind of screwed. You probably would have to normal summon this, or like you know, maybe use it in some way, shape, or form, and then use it to get the Lambda out, but that's kind of the only way you're kind of screwed, in my personal opinion. Already explained how Psychic Paths, as you can see, a lot of the times your frame gears will get removed from play, and then getting them back, especially some of like a Gamma or a Delta, if they're playing a bunch of spells, is really keeps the opponent in check, and I really like to do that as much as I can. Brain Hazard, I think I'll probably end up taking this out, but it is obviously like you can remove from play. You can even, if you want to be super sly, you can attack with one of your synchros, right? One of the synchros, maybe utilize one of its effects, like the Frame Zeta, utilize one of his effects, and then summon it with the Brain Hazard and then attack with it again because it's now a new special summon monster. This card I actually also might take out because it doesn't really do too much. Actually, these are some of the other cards that I was thinking about using as well. Beckoning of Light. This is a really cool card because if you notice that actually all of them are lights. They are light monsters, light attributes, so anything that revolves around light monsters, you can probably look into this thing like that. You can probably rotate the cards in. Now this one, you discard your entire hand. For each card you discarded to the graveyard by this effect, add one light monster from your graveyard to your hand. Now, my only issue with that is that like I said, when you utilize the cards, they get removed from play. They don't actually go to the graveyard, but if you do start to cycle, your hand kind of will get clumped up a little bit, I've noticed, and then you can discard your entire hand, and then like even like, let's say you actually have good cards in your hand. I actually am familiar with this card. Even if, let's say, you have a couple good cards in your hand, whatever is dead in your hand, like, let's say like the assault mode activates, stuff like that, you can then switch them out for any other thing that's in your graveyard. I do think that if I refine the deck a little bit, I do think that I can use that card a little bit better. Light of Redemption is a very similar thing. It's about taking one of the light monsters, a banished light monster, and then adding it to your hand. Obviously, Psychic Path does the same thing. You get 2 cards. This one only gives you 1. But I think maybe running more of them wouldn't be that much of a brick in the hand because usually you will be utilizing these effects at least once, you know? And that is pretty much it. Don't worry about that. Let me just click back over here. What other cards do you guys think that could make this deck a little bit better? I do want to do more. Obviously, if I have the deck, which most decks I won't have, but if you guys have any decks that you guys want me to break down how to use it, what's really good, and possibly other potential good cards, that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, so we could break down a deck, especially maybe popular, or maybe you guys want to see how you can make a maybe unpopular deck type work. I can also try to do that as well. I love breaking down stuff. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I showcase this deck, and then the next video I'm going to do is going to be this deck in action, not against solo mode, and actually playing a couple matches. So hopefully you guys tune in, subscribe, and like if you guys want to see more of that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.